The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Media Mash,
a roundtable of Cowboys insiders
dropping wisdom
and offering sizzling takes
on the current state of your Dallas Cowboys.
Now, your host,
Newy Scruggs.
Media Mash here on a Thursday. Nick Eatman, DallasCowboys.com. He's John Machota of The Athletic. I'm Newy Scruggs. Our guy Clarence Hill had to go play daddy, so he couldn't make it today, which I understand. I understand that stuff happens. I mean, I got one at home that's sick, so this is what happens. Packers, Cowboys, 3:25, Lambeau Field in Wisconsin, and today is November 10th. It's a birthday.
It is, yeah. Yours?
My friend Shannon Gross.
Mike McCarthy turned 59 today.
Mike McCarthy.
Sorry.
Beat writer.
Kind of suck.
Beat writer Nick Eatman. Beat writer.
Would you rather, if you're an NFL head coach, would you rather have your birthday during the offseason or during the season? I think I'd rather have it during the offseason.
Offseason.
It doesn't seem like you would really be able to enjoy it. I mean, I guess, okay, obviously this week, if he goes up to Green Bay and wins, that's a great birthday present, and he would enjoy that.
He has the potential to have a good birthday week.
He did say today when I asked him about it, though, he said that, the family's already headed up to Green Bay, and so he's going to have the house to himself, and he's looking forward to that little quiet time. So
it's just funny. You make it sound like if his birthday was in the summer, like he would like rent out Chuck E. Cheese or something like that.
No. You know what I think it is? I think I overrate what goes on during the season. Like almost like, I'm just going to have to sleep here. I'm not even going to get a chance to like even hang out with the family. Just constantly up here all the time. Jimmy Johnson's doing a lot of interviews this week because of his book coming out, and part of the book I haven't read it yet, but part of it is talking about how he looks back on life and regrets. I shouldn't say regret because I don't know he regrets it, but he feels like he should have spent more family time.
He did say regret. I talked to Jimmy. And
okay,
he mentioned that, but
because you're just always so competitive and you feel like you have to have every little edge that you like almost like if you're even enjoying any free time during the season, it's just like, oh well, somebody else isn't, and I need to be keeping up with that, and it's probably not a healthy way to live. But
Nick, you wrote the book, and you were inside with Baylor's program and with Coach Briles, and so you get to see, man, it's especially when you've got an opportunity to win, it gets intense about who you let in and what kind of time you have. You live, truly, you live in a bubble. I remember one of my buddies who actually told me it was during the election, who's running? Because he didn't know. He literally asked me world questions and questions about the nation because he lived in that bubble, man.
Yeah, no, I mean you're exactly right, and it's about anything in life. Obviously, I'm not being a philosopher here, but I'm just saying it's about balance, And I saw something the other day about Troy Aikman. He said the same thing about how he once they won the Super Bowl, he realized everything was about them winning the Super Bowl, and then from then on, it was like if you don't, then you get judged by that. So you just focus all the time on that, and you miss out some of the good things, So, but it's all about the balance. You're right, because if you're not staying here till 1 a.m, someone is, and
right.
So
especially this league, man, with coaches, it's just like it's constantly going to like, oh. I guess here's the best way I put it. I feel like you're being judged so quickly and your job, and you can be replaced so quickly, and they're just looking for the next younger guy who is getting their first shot, who maybe doesn't have as much of a family life, and they're gonna be putting in every. I mean, it just like constantly fighting to not look over your shoulder, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So what will happen? And I had a buddy of mine who gave me the story. He was working for Matt Patricia.
Okay.
And as the losing kept going and you heard more and more heat, he was looking at the system. You guys aren't here. So they basically started to go to work earlier and stay later just because they had to.
Yeah.
What were you doing? Nothing. It just became an appearance thing.
Mm.
This dude was concerned, and not that you guys couldn't get your work done during this time. And I just thought, what an awful way to live.
Yeah.
There was coaches here that back in the day that and high-profile coaches at that would like have this whole bit that about 5:30 where they'd have like a half a glass of tea and they'd have keys out and they'd have the projector going with the film going and all this stuff happen, music playing, like he must be in the bathroom, whatever. He's gone. He's at the house. That would happen. I mean, there would be coaches that would do that. So. That was back in the day a little bit.
Man,
Yeah.
who cares how many wins you have if you lose your life, or worse yet, you lose your kids? And
The fans. I mean, really, the answer to that is the fans. That they do care, because they don't care about your family and all that. That's what they care about. So when you say who cares about that, the fans, because they want people to win. I mean, they didn't want the starting quarterback of this team that was leading them to the playoffs. They didn't want him playing golf on a tournament in April. They didn't want that. Even though in their life, I'm sure that they do other things, but they didn't want that.
Yeah.
it was the July. It was like the July when they were off over in Tahoe that people got so mad about Tony Romo. And I remember Sean Salisbury. Now we did a radio show on 105.3 The Fan. And Sean, just being a former quarterback, he would say that you guys are so clueless. And he's like, Tony doesn't miss any OTAs. He doesn't miss any mini camps. So he's doing what he needs to do. He's like, nobody lives at the facility all day long. But then you hear stories about, well, Tom Brady's there or nobody else is there. And Sean's like, that doesn't mean guys who aren't necessarily there are not working hard. And that was his whole, he would always defend Tony to say fans are just way out of whack on Tony to make it seem as though he doesn't care when the guy never missed any time. That was the thing that was amazing about that, is because we see some quarterbacks. Hey, Aaron Rodgers, who the Cowboys played this week, Aaron Rodgers stayed away this summer. Mm-hmm. Doesn't look real good right about now. But it's just interesting on who people choose to condemn, even with the facts that they have about Tony. And I just always thought that was an unfair thing about how he got portrayed about playing golf. I actually went up to Burlington one time. Noah Bullitt and I, we went up there, and Tony had his camp, finished his camp, and had a big party at his house at his parents, and great barbecue for all the staffers. And the next day, he and his dad played in the golf tournament, and it was kind of a big deal. Like, hey, Tony's playing locally golf, and I just remember somebody was complaining about it. I'm like, it's the off season. What do you want Tony to do?
Well, I think you brought up the best point on the Tom Brady thing, because it is constantly being put out there about, I mean, just look at it now that there's been a lot of cards played, and we can see a lot now, whether, with his family life, whether it's him putting out TB12 books, to the time he's putting in, and he's the greatest. And so he's putting in all this time. And so if you want to be the greatest, this is what you have to do. This is what you have to chase. And that's so few people have, one, the drive to be on that type of a level, and then two, I just feel like the love for the sport has to be probably on a level that's just not healthy.
I could never coach. That's one of my things. My friends who do this for a living, and Nick, you've been here a long time.
Yeah.
You see, like, I could never do it because it's way too early, way too late. And just the fact, I mean, just in our jobs, we miss family stuff. We miss things. And I couldn't imagine doing this job because there's a whole lot of stuff like, okay, guess what? You guys can go on and go to whoever so-and-so's wedding and such. I'm here. I'm in a game. And then just talking to guys once they get out, hey, September. I never had a September. It's kind of like you find this whole new world.
What's the tough part, too, with the NFL especially, or even college football? There's so many pieces involved because there's so many players, and you can put in all this time. You can be the best at studying tape. You can have the best scheme. You can do all this, and then you got to worry about them getting in trouble off the field. You got to worry about injuries. There's just so much stuff. To use Jerry's reference, was one of my favorite Jerry references about the 2 hands of Jello and trying to hold them in your hand.
He loves that one.
Yeah, he does, but it's so true. The NFL is like that. That no matter how much you think you have everything covered, there's things that just there's only so much you can do.
And it happened this week. Jeff Saturday, went from the broadcast booth to coaching, which is different in itself because he hadn't done it. But you don't see a lot of other guys doing that. You thought, oh, when's Cowher going to get back? When's Jimmy going to get back? And I'm sure every time something popped up, they were like, you know what? I'm good here. I mean, I'm still making really good money. I get to just sit on my couch, watch tape, and then go to a game. It's different than coaching, like you're saying.
When you said that, it made me think of John Gruden, because he had that long period of time where you were like, man, another year he's going to do in the booth. Well, he's probably not coming back. And then it looked like he was really having fun doing that thing where I know he did it with Dak and much of that QB thing where they meet with him.
He still got to kind of be a coach.
Yeah. And then he came back, and then you see what happens, and I wonder how many other people look at that and they're just kind of like, you know what, I don't even know if I want to get back in on that thing. Like, I'm getting paid well to talk about it. Let's just keep doing that.
The first guy to do it was Dick Vermeil.
Yeah.
He got burned out by coaching the Eagles, went to the Super Bowl, I mean, he was a very good college commentator. Spent a lot of years there. Then the Rams ended up hiring him. First couple years with St. Louis were bad. Getting ready to fire him, but he was told to hire Mike McCarthy.
Yeah,
turned things around and ended up getting back in the game, and now he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But it's demanding, and those who know exactly what it is, when they get out, they get out. I had talked to Bob Stoops a couple weeks ago, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I was done." And he says, "I enjoyed having my life," and that's kind of the thing about even our jobs. Not that we don't love what we do, but you tell your family, "All right, come July 20,
yeah,
I'm done. I'm done."
He's not going to have to put that time in at the XFL that he would have to do in college football. That's for sure.
And no, you don't have to worry about. You don't have to worry about who's calling you about a player. You don't have to worry about academics or anything
he could get a college job like that, and a great one too.
Look, Oklahoma asked him.
Yeah,
Lincoln Riley left.
Oh, is that right?
Hey, you want this?
Yeah.
No. And he said, "Hey, look, there's no smoking out. I just want my own life."
Yeah,
and that's
makes sense.
But when you're in it, you are in it. And a guy like Mike McCarthy is in this thing, and he's going back to Green Bay, and as you said, family's already up there. You guys are moving from your hotels, right? You're going to stay in downtown Green Bay now.
That's the plan. That's what I hear.
Wow,
staying in Green Bay.
Nice.
Yeah,
good for you.
Good for me. It's not good for me. I don't. It doesn't matter to me either way.
Where have you typically stayed? Because just for anybody listening, most of us stay in like Milwaukee and then drive up the morning before, just because the flights are cheaper into Milwaukee. I mean, this will be my third time up there.
What is that drive to? 2 hours?
About an hour and a half. Yeah, hour 45.
It's usually been Appleton. That's where we
right.
stayed.
That's what I've heard. Okay.
But this is Green Bay, so this will be, really close. It's not. I mean, it's good for the coach. That's what it's just for him. This is the first time he's done it, and this is where we're staying.
Pretty interesting that if he's able to beat the Packers, he'll have a win against every team in the NFL. And not many coaches can say. I think he would be the 7th.
Wow.
Yeah.
Current. I think it's two current.
Oh,
right
current.
now.
Yeah, no, of all time.
Of all time. Yeah.
This will be like his 150th win here.
So he doesn't have
McCarthy if he wins this. It's pretty significant.
Tom Landry didn't.
He hasn't beat the Steelers in the regular season, but obviously beat them in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think that's one you take right there. It says with a win on Sunday, head coach Mike McCarthy would record his 150th regular season win and pass Bill Cowher for 23rd most all-time in regular season wins among head coaches. And a victory against the Packers would give McCarthy a win against every team in the NFL, including postseason. So there you go. There's fine game notes that Scott Agolnick, Tad, the company put together. So there you go.
Cool.
Am I overestimating this in terms of saying the Cowboys are a better team? You've had a bye week. Packers have lost 5 straight. You should be able to handle your business this week.
No, that's exactly right. You should be able to handle your business. You should be able to. They should be a better team, and they relatively healthy. We'll see what's going on with Zeke, but I mean, for the most part, they're healthy, and they're a better team. They got more talent, and the Packers' best player is in a funk. So you should be able to handle your business. But as my man Brian Broaddus always says, the NFL is a strange lady. She does weird things sometimes. Yeah,
Rodgers is limited today after he didn't practice yesterday, which listening to he talked for 20 minutes at his locker yesterday. He said this was the plan all along. So I saw on Wednesday that he didn't practice. I'm thinking, oh, is this something new? It's a thumb. It's his right thumb, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be something to keep him out, obviously. Jake Ferguson was added to he was among those that did not practice today, but it's because of an illness, so that remains up in the air there. Let's see. We just got the injury report. That's the only reason I'm reading this off right now. Basically, a lot of the same things as yesterday. Anthony Barr did not practice again. We saw him on the resistance cords for a little bit. He's still dealing with that hamstring. I don't think he's going to play in this game. Zeke was limited again today. I think Zeke's going to play. When we talked to him yesterday, he didn't want to definitively say. Now, I don't think he's going to play the entire game or get his normal. Right. But I bet you he gets 8 to 10 carries and plays in this game. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's leaning that way. I think he's trying to play the game a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's funny. It's kind of backwards where Jerry and McCarthy are the ones saying, yeah, I think he's pretty good. And the player's the one that's like, I don't know. So Zeke's never played that game before, so it's kind of weird. But I still think he plays.
Yeah, and to what you just asked, Nick, I completely agree. There's no reason, especially because I understand Cowboys fans. There's a lot of worry because of what they've seen Aaron Rodgers do before. But I'm telling you, watching him just dice up, I understand there's been games against the Cowboys. He does not own the Cowboys the way he owns the Detroit Lions. And the way he played last Sunday against the Lions, that's the worst game I've ever seen him play. That's the first time this season where I was like, oh, this might be for real. They might really be done. Almost like when you watch, as great as LeBron is and things like that, when you watch that Lakers team, you're just like, ooh, I don't know if they are going to get this thing together. And all of a sudden, so I'm kind of there with that, with Aaron Rodgers. But if there is going to be any game that maybe sparks him or whatever, maybe this is it. They're back at Lambeau. But I mean, I think the Cowboys win by at least 10.
Yeah,
really
Michael Parsons doesn't give a crap about
you're right.
him wanting to win. And
right.
I just mean that he can want that all he wants. Just like all those 10, there's 10 assistants and head coach and 9 assistants that want to beat the Packers.
But there's some times when you can be playing well, and he can even get out to the outside and just throw that ball to Jared Cook on the sideline. And it doesn't matter how well you played it or not. He just got that it factor that not a lot of people have.
That's why the offense. This kind of reminds me of the Rams-Bucks game last week.
Yeah.
Where it's like the Bucks had no business winning that game.
Right, but you let them hang in there.
But their offense couldn't pull away and get first downs, and then Brady's like, oh. This is still happening?
Yeah, the genius Sean McVay's offense couldn't do its job, so there you go.
It hasn't been a good year for him.
Let's get our first break in here with Nick Eatman and John Machota. A player we're not talking about enough. Let's get into that next. Right here on the Media Mash of Newy Scruggs. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, singing, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
When you build, you start with the foundation. And home ownership is a foundation of a stable future. The Bank of America Community Home Ownership Commitment has helped over 34,000 people lay the groundwork so far, with up to $10,000 towards your down payment or 3% of the purchase price, whichever is less. The satisfaction of owning your own place can become a reality. Visit bankofamerica.com/homeowner to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America N.A. Equal Housing Lender. Credit and collateral is subject to approval. Restrictions apply. This is not a commitment to lend.
The season is finally here. For months, we've been gearing up to win. Now it's time for the team that performs on any field. United Ag and Turf. With John Deere zero turns for mowing, compact tractors for loading, mini excavators for digging, Gator utility vehicles for hauling, implements for grading, hay tools for baling. United Ag and Turf. For winning. The official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com for more.
Back to Media Mash.
Media Mash right here from the SWBC.
Did we get a Let's
podcast
Ride?
Series. We
Sorry,
did.
I didn't cut. Sorry, I cut you off on the SWBC podcast studio.
Yeah, no. I didn't. I did it for the last podcast. But,
Sorry.
Yes, I should have thrown in the Let's Ride with old Russell Wilson and the Broncos, and as they try to save the coach's job, which they're not. They can't keep Nathaniel Hackett. If you're the Broncos GM, how do you walk around there, right now, knowing, hey, I wanted to hire Dan Quinn, John Elway, Joe Ellis, you two guys told me no. We needed an offensive guy. You're going to bring in Nathaniel Hackett with some dream that Hackett was going to go recruit Aaron Rodgers. Okay, guys.
And then trade away the defensive guy.
The crazy thing about, I was telling somebody the other day about Bradley Chubb, who they traded away to Miami for number 1. Elway passed on Josh Allen. Yeah, could have had Josh Allen.
I just think quarterback's so tough. I mean, look at all the top quarterbacks in the league. Everybody's pretty much passed on them to a certain extent. Like, it's not like Mahomes was one. It's not like Josh Allen was one. It's not like Aaron Rodgers was one. I mean, there's just so many of these guys that, they're still going in the first round. But when you see them play, you're like, how did anybody not take him number 1 overall.
Now, this falls into the whole, but you're supposed to have the guy who he's supposed to know. And when he doesn't know.
Are you talking about Elway?
Yeah. That's not
I'm
good.
not taking a shot at you because you know I like this guy. But let's not act like Michael Jordan.
And
I'm serious.
I'm sitting there ready to go there as well.
Okay.
Because this is, as a Charlotte Hornets fan,
this
has been my biggest frustration.
If you would have told me in 1998, 1998, I feel like that was the pinnacle of all. I would have never believed you if you said that Michael Jordan was going to go in the NBA and he was going to be this bad in terms of just not even winning, but just finding players. I never would have believed you. I would have been like, no, he's going to be the best GM. He's going to get the best players. He's going to have the most success. Yeah. He's going to win at least one championship, running a team, and it has been so bad. I just think that
picking players though. He stopped. Doing that,
there's just a lot of things I've seen over the last 5 to 10 years that makes me really be one of these people where I'm like, I'm all for you asking the players what hey, how do you like about if you're a quarterback, how do you like this receiver, whatever in the draft. I'm going to let the Will McClays of the world pick the guys, though. I'm going to let the guys that know what they're looking at. I'm going to let them get them over going to the players.
Are you referring to Dak picking Jalen Tolbert?
I wasn't, but that.
Troy Aikman liking David LaFleur?
Yeah.
What was the other option there?
No, and don't say that it was Tony Gonzalez.
I was going to say
it wasn't.
But it's the same draft
Tony
class,
Gonzalez,
right?
too. Gonzalez got picked like 12th, and LaFleur got picked like 20th.
So, but if you let Lease tell the story.
Who?
Lee Steinberg, the agent. Let Lee tell the story. Lee tells a different story of, that they could have gotten something done and, Tony wanted it and Troy wanted it, but then, they wouldn't pull the trigger. But this, the agent. This is Lee's version of things. But it's very interesting. But wow, what could have been had they even used whatever they needed to pay to go get.
Who's the best former player talent evaluator that you can think of? We'll stay with the NFL.
Talent?
Ozzie Newsome is a go, and that's one of the first people I thought too.
Talent, or I thought you were going to say coach.
It's Ozzie and that's it.
Oh, no, just a talent evaluator.
Yeah,
like
Ozzie.
It's Ozzie.
I was going to try and think there was anybody that
Makes
that was the first.
Makes Ozzie.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Are you saying it just because of that? I think he clearly is,
true.
though. I can't think of anybody else that. Damn.
I remember when I worked in Cleveland, and Antonio Langham was there, and Ozzie, because I was an Alabama fan and just knew about Ozzie playing, and Antonio's like, oh yeah, he basically said how he talked to Lombardi and Belichick, and he did I did the work on take this guy. Ozzie was just very good, especially with his first round picks, finding players who were proven in college who could end up fitting.
Yeah,
and that was the success of Ozzie. And just kind of go through it. He found first rounders who made contributions, and I think it was Rick Gosling who once told me, he says, "Newey, your first and second round guys have to be starters, darn near walk-in starters." And for the most part in his career, that's what he did.
Yeah,
I mean, his last first round pick, turned out to be okay.
Yeah.
Are you guys forgetting Matt Millen?
No. I'm most certainly not forgetting Matt Millen.
Okay.
We're going to bring up Matt Millen and Matt Patricia in the same podcast. Do this to me. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate this.
We mentioned Bill Cowher twice already, too.
Well, he doesn't have any Detroit connections there.
No.
He didn't run the organization in the ground.
See,
it's also coaching, too, though. It's not just GM. It's coaching. Name, the greatest player who was a great player, great coach. Because look at the former players now. The coaches like Tomlin and all that, they weren't great players. I mean, there's not that many that are head coaches that were a great player.
I think it's too hard.
I mean, Mike Ditka, I think, was a great player,
one.
Right? That's about. Look how far I went back.
Mike Gundy. Sorry, sorry.
Cowher won a Super Bowl in Detroit. Just letting you all know that.
Well, yeah, it was in Detroit. That's true. That is correct. Him and Jerome Bettis.
Sorry.
I just think overall, it is very hard to be a Hall of Fame player and coach. And
Singletary.
And this is just me. This is just me. They're so great that they can't really understand the dudes who aren't. Yeah. Watching Magic Johnson just not understand, even as a coach and executive, him not guess what? Some of these dudes just don't have this thing you have.
They don't take the game over.
Or you as a player, you don't see this. Great players like Magic, you see that with the floor. Dude, you have to talk to the people who only see this.
Yeah.
And then how do you get like Bruce Bochy, for instance, with the Rangers, is a backup catcher.
Yeah.
Guys who are backup catchers, they sit on the bench. They're in the meetings with the pitchers.
Yeah.
They're around the pitching coaches. You learn so much just by
Backup quarterbacks
watching.
like Jason Garrett. And I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
not
I know
gonna
what
sit
you're
here and
saying.
say great coach or whatever. He was a good
He's
coach.
here for a decade.
He was a good coach. But I mean, he's pretty good analyst. Analyst too.
No, Jason is I knew he would be good because Jason tells a great story. Great storytellers can make
and nothing against Jason. I didn't see it as much. I didn't see him going to be really good there. And he's kind of good in his own way. He's good in an Aikman type of way. Not going to sit there and tell a lot of jokes, but just pretty good analysis. And when he does tell a joke, it's like, wow, that happened.
So I looked up.
You learn
Yeah.
from Jason when you're watching him. So
I looked up former players that ended up being coaches, and these are some of the first names that came up in terms of Mike Ditka. I think that you nailed that one right there for sure. Phil Jackson.
Yeah, he was good. He was a good player.
backup, but a guy who was
not a star.
Jim Harbaugh obviously wasn't a star player.
That's not a bad one.
Pat Riley.
Backup player.
Lenny Wilkins.
Lenny was a good player. Bill Russell's the ultimate, though.
Oh, there you go.
Bill Russell's your ultimate guy. I mean, the guy won a championship as a player coach.
Yeah, but when he was a coach, was he really good? Wasn't he? I didn't think they were good. Was he a good coach? Like a.
With the Celtics, he was good, but
was he okay?
But as he went to the Kings and as a general manager, he had some pitfalls there. But
I thought Larry Bird had the Pacers going pretty well.
Hey, that's a good one. Yeah, he did for a little bit.
And then he couldn't do it.
You're right.
Isaiah Thomas wasn't really that good.
You're right.
Here's where Larry excelled at.
We're going way into the
Larry.
We're not going off the highway. We're going into the town.
He had Dick Harder. He had Rick Carlisle. But it matters. But Ozzie, to me, Ozzie Newsome is a Hall of Fame general manager as much as he was a Hall of Fame player. But I do think it's hard. You know what? Okay, I got a guy.
What sport?
Who played the NFL?
Okay.
A guy who was a really good player turned out to be a Hall of Fame coach. Tom Landry.
Okay.
He's with the Giants.
Okay.
Tell me about his best game.
You know, Nick, I was a star in the sky.
Yeah.
And I don't really have the film of that. But
they're at the Polo Grounds.
Yeah.
35 degrees out. Tops.
Yeah.
Yeah. But played in this league. You know, good defensive back. And you know who else?
Never a face mask call ever.
Because there wasn't a face mask.
Now, you know who wasn't a good player but played in the league was Don Shula. Yeah, ended up being a pretty good coach.
Wasn't Bill Parcells a draft pick of the Lions?
Not sure.
I'm not sure if he did. I know he coached or was involved.
No,
with
he
that,
played, and he was drafted by the Lions. And I don't think he played much. I think he just went to Wichita State.
Chuck Noll had a cup of coffee. He played a little bit for the Browns.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
I don't know. There's something about with like Mike McCarthy, a guy that obviously played in college. He didn't play in the pros, but I don't know. I really noticed with Mike McCarthy that he doesn't try and act like he's one of the players. You know, there's definitely a line there that he's not going to cross that, hey, this is a player thing. Players, get it done. I don't know what we're going to say.
No, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Like that was the biggest difference in 2020. And I when a lot of us had got to travel, and I was very fortunate that I did. And not only did travel, but everything was pretty close. Like you couldn't go and hang out and go in. And we ate with the team, which was awkward when they were so bad, and you were picking them to lose, and it wasn't fun. But I noticed that too. Like Garrett was all down.
Oh
in there.
yeah,
Garrett would take the stars. Let's go to Duke. Let's watch games.
Yeah.
Let's do it. He doesn't do that. Now he has a guy that does that.
Yeah.
Yeah. His assistant coach does that.
Mm-hmm.
Rob Davis.
Yeah.
He's in there, and so he kind of gets the tune of what's going on, but in a different way. But he does want to keep it separate a little bit.
He stays off the skyline.
Yeah.
That's what he does. I'll give him that as a coach. He stays off. Some coaches are not like that, but Mike McCarthy stays off the skyline and does a good job of making it about.
I wonder if he was like that in Green Bay too, or if this was something that was kind of.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's moved more towards this way.
And I think what you're saying about he stays off the skyline, but still considered a player's coach. Like
no question.
He will make sure they're off their feet. They're not getting overworked. What's their number, GPS number, or whatever it is.
Gave him all of last week off.
Yeah, I mean he's
which is a great testament to him saying, hey, I overworked.
Yeah.
Worked young teams when I was a young coach. So he's learned a lot. And I tell you, between what he talks about, what he's learned, and you got Dan Quinn who talks about what he's learned here. The Cowboys are getting the benefit of their experience, which may be why you don't want to hire a guy like Jeff Saturday. But let's take a break. Come on back here with Nick Eatman of DallasCowboys.com, John Machota of The Athletic. I'm Nuri Scruggs. This is the Media Mash on DallasCowboys.com radio.
The season is finally here. For months, we've been gearing up to win. Now it's time for the team that performs on any field, United Ag and Turf. With John Deere zero turns for mowing, compact tractors for loading, mini excavators for digging, Gator utility vehicles for hauling, implements for grading, hay tools for baling. United Ag and Turf, for winning. The official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com for more.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
This week! Did you get to work on time?
Yeah, but I just realized it's Sunday.
Little Sweet says head on home. Dr. Pepper's on its way. So sweet, unique. Baby, there's nothing better. I bet you've probably done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper. Did you invest your nest egg in an NFT?
Yeah, and I don't even know what that is.
It's a non-fungible token. Everyone's done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper.
When you build, you start with the foundation. And home ownership is a foundation of a stable future. The Bank of America Community Homeownership Commitment has helped over 34,000 people lay the groundwork so far, with up to $10,000 towards your down payment or 3% of the purchase price, whichever is less. The satisfaction of owning your own place can become a reality. Visit bankofamerica.com/homeowner to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America N.A. Equal Housing Lender. Credit and collateral is subject to approval. Restrictions apply. This is not a commitment to lend.
Back to Media Mash.
Media Mash here on a Thursday, going in towards Saturday when the Cowboys leave from DFW Airport to fly up to Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Nick Eatman will be on that plane with the Cowboys. John Machota's going up. You're just flying regular. And
Saturday.
I'm
I'll
flying
be up
regular. I'm leaving too. So this will be my first road game of the year.
Yeah,
nice.
So I wanted to go back to see this one, especially when I saw it on the schedule. McCarthy going back, and then now to see what could happen here for him is pretty cool. I picked Green Bay to miss the playoffs, and I picked Minnesota to win the division when I did my picks for the Dallas Morning News this year. I just thought to win 13 games 3 years in a row, there was going to be a fall off, and then you lose a guy like Devontae Adams, and you want to tell me that Alan Lazard's supposed to be your guy. I didn't see it happening for the Packers this year. They've lost 5 straight football games, and they're not good. And then Chris Beam sent me, I think it was Rasul Douglas, who said, "We suck because we suck." That's what he said to the media.
Okay.
Folks, that's not
That's
good.
fair.
That's not good, though.
That's right. With that kind of mentality to come on out and just, look, you know who you are.
Yeah.
Okay? You know who you are. But when you come out and that's your quote, hey, man, we suck because we suck.
Certainly, not that obviously this is their.
It's the real.
Oh, he definitely said that. It's not like they don't want to get out to a hot start all the time against every team. Obviously, you would prefer to do that, but this certainly seems like one of those games you'd really like to maybe throw a couple big blows early and just take them out of it because you don't, maybe.
Who said that?
Rasul Douglas.
Yeah, that's what you're right. You want it to be 14-0 Dallas, and then the guy looked at each other and goes, "It's like Rasul was right."
Yeah.
Damn, we do suck. I thought maybe nope.
Which leads me into the player we haven't spoken a whole lot about, Dak Prescott.
Mm-hmm.
Looked good last game out. Now with a week off to rest the thumb, I'm expecting Dak to get this thing going again. To take what happened with the Bears and keep this thing rolling here now against Green Bay. And Dak is a competitor. Jimmy Johnson talks about the 5 characteristics that he wants in guys. Like one of the things is he wants a guy who can compete. And he talked about Mike McCarthy. Like there's a guy that wants to compete. Dak Prescott's the same way. I think he's probably tired. Like, I'm tired of losing to Aaron Rodgers. If not now, win. If not now, win. So I'm expecting Dak Prescott to have a good game here. I missed his press conference today. He spoke after my 2 o'clock podcast. So what did he have to say?
He was, I don't know. I mean, he gave the shortest answer of anybody about Odell. I mean, obviously was asked about that, not right away, but he was definitely not going to play that game and give headlines. It wasn't bad. It was respectful. It just wasn't much.
You know why I think that was?
Because of Zeke.
Well, no, I was going to say because the thing that you brought up on the podcast on Tuesday that you got from the Players Lounge about the players saying, I don't know if I'd really love, like, if I'm one of these wide receivers, I got my quarterback out here talking about how, man, we would love to have Odell in here. And then you're just kind of like, you're Noah Brown. You're like, dude, what are we doing here?
Yeah, but CD did.
I was going to say, CD Lamb
He did. But
that's my guy.
But there's also Dak Prescott, face of the franchise, voice of the franchise. Like when he speaks, it's going to be like, I mean, you're just on a different level when you're a franchise $40 million quarterback.
Especially when you're getting people to come out to your backyard, the Dak yard, and go play, and it's like, oh, well, am I not good enough? You want this guy? But I mean, that's part of it. But I mean, he talked about a lot of things, and I don't think these really. He didn't get into it about win one for coach.
No.
I mean, I think people in the media are trying to play that narrative, and that's just this. He hasn't been here long enough where you're going to be like, we got to win this for coach.
Yeah.
I bet you half the players are like, oh, he coached here. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. I was in college. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah. I mean, like, it's not that big a deal. So that's not the storyline for the players. I think the storyline for the players is, we had a bye week. It feels like a long 2 weeks. Let's get after it.
But guys are aware. Jaron Kearse talked about it on Monday. And Hooker talked about how hey, we'd like to get him a win. And just being around this team, since we've all been around this team since July, I think there is a respect factor of guys hey, man, you're going back there. We want to get you a win.
For sure.
We know this has a meaning for you. And obviously, they want to win for themselves first. But at the same time, hey, if we're going back to Nick's backyard here, man, let's go ahead and get a dub.
If you're right, you're right about that. And if Mike McCarthy stands in front of the team like he stood in front of the media on Monday and gave that kind of passion, he was just a real person and just said it got him about Green Bay because that's his home and that was tough. I can't imagine. I mean, it's a small town. I can't imagine living there and then seeing all the success that they had after you and like, well, good, we got rid of him. He had to hear all that. His family had to hear it. So this means a lot. This is home, and he gets to go back there. So if he brings that to that Saturday night meeting to the team, it'll probably resonate pretty good.
Yeah. I would say, the stuff about Odell stood out most to me just because it's the franchise quarterback talking about a player that's not on the team, and we generally don't see many players, advocating to bring in other players that are outside the building. But when he's talking about that, it also made me think of, well, if the offense doesn't look like it did against the Bears, all it's going to do is throw gasoline on the fire of, if it's struggling, let's say they win the game, but it's, 17-13 or something like that. It's just going to continue I think they need another weapon on the perimeter type thing. But no, it was that, and then him talking about McCarthy are the two things that stood out to me. Talking about how he honestly can't wait for that Saturday speech, like you mentioned. Like, what is he going to say? Because I think he will be a little emotional about it. He's told us before that he's had pregame speeches, those Saturday speeches, where he went too far and maybe got the team a little too riled up, and it had a negative effect on Sunday. So I think he'll guard from it being too much. But as players amongst each other, I find it hard to believe because I do think that Green Bay will have at Lambeau some type of a video tribute or something like that for everyone to give him a standing ovation sometime before the game started, thanking him for what he's done. And I do believe this will be a game, if the Cowboys take care of business, it will be him getting the game ball after the game's over. So I don't think it's their number one priority, but I think it'll be on everybody's mind.
I had asked him about that Monday. How would he respond, or how would he accept that if it happened? Because I personally believe that's what they'll do, and that's what they should do. They owe him that. Despite how it ended, the man won a championship here. Spent 13 years here. They had a lot of good years. He's got a street named after him. He's coming back here. There's been enough time that you as a franchise, you guys have been able to keep on winning and do your thing.
Yeah.
I think he deserves that, and I think he wants that.
There's no question, because he did a conference call with their reporters, and they brought up
Still do that?
Well, so far this year, so they've He's done one for the Green Bay, and there was one other game this year that I know that he did one for. So they're not very often, but once in a while. I mean, we got Belichick, I think, last year, but they're not as often. They used to be every week, but they talked about how Mike Holmgren got a really good ovation when he came back, and Mike said that he would really like to get something similar. So I completely agree with you. I think he would love for them to. I mean, let's be honest. I don't know. You win a Super Bowl somewhere. I would think that.
Yeah.
It's not like.
Doesn't happen very often, man.
And it's okay. And the way you leave matters too. He didn't Brian Kelly them, and was like, no, I can't win a Super Bowl with the Packers. I'm gonna go coach the Steelers. He was fired, and he won a lot of games for them and won them a Super Bowl. He has a street named after him. I don't understand how, if you're a Packers fan, you wouldn't give him a standing ovation.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, and they're the owners too of the team.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
but also, I think this is probably calls for an ovation too, when it's like, okay, our team sucks because they suck, according to one of their players.
Right.
Their team is struggling. This team's one of the top 5 teams in the league. He is a pretty good coach. Maybe they'll think like that. So I think it'll probably will. I think there'll be people that boo, and boos are a lot louder than cheers. But I think for the most part, it'll be a good ovation.
The other interesting thing too about that dynamic, and again, I'm not a Packers fan, and I wasn't around it, so I don't know for sure. I just go back to that time, and I just remember it being a very Mike or Aaron, and obviously fans would be on the side of Aaron, and then just how things have gone this year. I just wonder if, and it's not just this year, but it's the last few years. I understand we're talking about guys who won the last 2 MVPs, but there is a part that I just feel is wearing on Packers fans, like, oh, he's doing this stuff again. Here we go. He's so talented, we got to keep him, and we don't have anybody to replace him. But man, this act is kind of getting old.
And nobody to help him.
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
which they've not helped him. The general manager's done a terrible job.
Yeah,
and Brian Gutekunst, to me, when I look at what he's done he's failed.
Yeah,
he's failed to get this team what it needed.
That's why it worked before with Aaron Rodgers. Ironically, when you drafted a quarterback in the first round and still had a really good one, but. I think all the time when should the Cowboys draft a quarterback? When do you do that and all that? Man, I do that when I have to. I just don't like sitting on a first round pick.
Sure,
like they are right now.
I wonder when's the last time they've been this bad at wide receiver though. I mean, I'm talking going all the way back to Sterling Sharp. Like Brett Favre would always have at least some guy, and then when Aaron Rodgers took over, there was always a Greg Jennings or a Jordy Nelson or
but
Devontae
honestly,
Adams.
You look at those guys, and they would go to other teams.
Yeah,
it happened with Brady too.
Yeah,
Deion Branch and these guys that would go to other teams. Like he makes them better, and now I just don't think his talent is good enough to raise the level of all these other guys.
Well, I just also think though, it's not the carpenter; it's the tools. If you give me if the tool is dull, I can't sit up here and do anything. Alan Lazard.
Yeah, but
what would Alan Lazard be here?
We wouldn't even know.
What would Jordy Nelson ever be?
Oh, I don't know. I think
Jordy
Nelson would be all right.
Jordy Nelson was a good football player.
James Jones is. They're all good coming out of. But
I'm just saying when he was at Kansas State, that was a guy looked like And I remembered one of the scouts here really liked Jordy Nelson, but Jason Garrett wasn't on. But that was a guy when you looked at him in college, that guy could be a good pro.
But like James Jones is the guy I always think of, and Deion Branch is another.
Yeah,
really good with their team. Yeah. They go somewhere else to make the money because they got to feed their kids. Doesn't work out. They get cut. They go back, have success again. Randall Cobb's another one. Randall Cobb's has better success with them.
LaRon Robinson. Sorry,
but I'm thinking of the Sterling Sharps, the Donald Drivers, the Jordy Nelsons, the Devontae Adams. Those guys who were really good players, first, second round picks, who now working between
who that
Favre
was for them at that time though?
And Aaron.
It was Bill Schrader. He was pretty good with Favre, and then all of a sudden, he goes to the Lions. They pay him a bunch of money, and he's exactly what you were saying.
Bill Schrader got a lot of money.
He got a pretty good. I mean, he got paid to be like their number 2 receiver.
But it happens. Alvin Harper.
I was about to say Alvin.
Alvin Harper, Laurent Robinson. I mean, this happens. But
you're right though. We would not even know Robert Tonyan and Alan Lazard if it was not for Aaron Rodgers.
No, and but you've got to at least give him some talent. The Carpenter's tools are bad right now.
They are.
And the problem I have with the general manager there is there were available, proven receivers that they chose not to go get.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, Amari Cooper for a 5? If you're the Packers, why don't you do that?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if they wanted to pay the price, but still, you had the Chiefs got rid of. They got rid of Tyreek Hill. He was available.
Yeah.
A.J. Brown for the Titans was available. I mean, you had players while you lost Adams, and you were willing to pay Adams. It wasn't about money. I mean, Adams said, hey, man, Packers offer you more money than the Raiders. So you had money. You chose not to spend it. You didn't take care of your franchise quarterback. The guy's a great quarterback, but he's not a magician. You can't sit around here and make these frogs princes, and that's what they got, a bunch of frogs, and they're not winning. So,
but when at his best, I don't think anybody's ever played the game at a higher level. And so I wonder if he's kind of been taken for granted. We can kind of do this and we'll be okay.
Everyone does it with the great players. So what is? Hey, man, this was fun as always. I appreciate the conversation.
Yes,
Nick Eatman, DallasCowboys.com, the originator. He is John Machota of The Athletic. I'm Newey Scruggs, Media Mash, and we will do this again Tuesday. That's the next Media Mash right here on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?